Pony, and welcome back to the Pony Talk Podcast. Great to see you all here. We are finally caught up with the podcast. We've been delayed for a little bit because I had things and upcoming things that happened, and graduation for me. Long story, and I'll talk that into another video or something. Not on the podcast. On the podcast, we're going to be talking about this week's episode. And today, guys, I have someone finally joined with me. And today, guys, we have Chris. Say hello to every pony.
What's up?
Alright, yes, hi Chris. It's great to have you back on the podcast. I know it's been a little bit, but it's all good.
Yep.
Yeah. Alright, so we're going to be talking about episode 9, or the overall episode 205, and this episode is titled Sweet and Smoky. When I first saw the cover of this, because I did take a little bit of a sneak peek before this episode even aired, and the cover page, when I saw dragons, I was like, yes! So it was fantastic. Something we want to mention too, and this was mentioned off of the podcast. Me and Chris were just discussing about just this year's season so far and what it's been compared to last season, season 8, which we've talked a few times in this year's podcast, showing that episodes have really improved from last year's, and this time it's kind of interesting. So, Chris, do you want to explain that?
What?
About this episode and who it's written by.
Yeah, it's about, well, this written episode is about the dragons. It's like more about the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written by none other than the writer who wrote Non-Compete Clause, Kim Bayer-Johnson.
Yes. Now, that also was episode 9. A non-complete clause.
Yeah. That's coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not. But in this case, it is. So this is very interesting. So non-complete clause.
Non-compete.
Is it non? Oh yeah, non-compete. Okay, I had it right the first time. Non-compete clause was the episode that the same writer, Kim Bayer-Johnson, wrote. And if you remember that episode, we discussed that on that podcast, and we had a lot of disappointing factors to review in that episode. And one major reason was Rainbow Dash and Applejack, with them competing against each other, and how this basically took us way back from season 8 all the way to like around season 1-2, because that's where Applejack and Rainbow Dash were really competitive between each other. But we've already moved past that. Why are we going back? So we're backtracking. We were very upset about that episode nonetheless, and a lot of people were also upset too. It got quite a disturbance in the whole audience. Well, this writer comes back in season 9 with episode 9, and this episode was, wow. I gotta say, this was a comeback. This was definitely a comeback for this writer.
Yeah.
You can say what you're gonna say.
Yeah, she did. I thought she was not going to do. She's going to make another flop of this episode, but apparently we were wrong.
We were wrong. Yeah, okay, and just the environment of this episode, and just how everything was, it was quite nice. Now, there was one thing that I did not find, like, meh. I found a little wobbly because I didn't think it was needed, but that was just my own opinion. I felt this episode, because this episode included Smolder and Spike, who were basically the main characters in this episode, along with Smolder's, well, we'll get to that. I'm not going to spoil it here. But we also had Fluttershy, who was also a quote-unquote main character throughout this episode. But I felt like Fluttershy in this episode, in my sake, guys, it's just my opinion, that's why we are here, and also anyone who else joins us in the podcast. I felt that Fluttershy wasn't really needed in this episode. That it would have been fine. Yes, okay, we can complain that she definitely was needed to be there to support the baby dragons throughout this episode and all that. But at the same time, I mean, like, they definitely could have done something with that. Either Spike, with his going back and forth, could have looked at the eggs or something like that. But at the same time, I mean, it's appropriate. I didn't think it was a huge major thing or anything, so I'll give it thumbs up and support and all that. But let's go into detail of the episode. So this episode starts at this teacher's lounge, at the School of Friendship, where Smolder asked Twilight if she can skip a day of school. Well, that day turns into a week of school, and Twilight's like, oh yeah, sure, you could totally skip a day. You just have to make it up the next day. And she's like, actually, it's gonna be more like a week. And they all freak out, and she's like, why? Why a week? And she's like, well, you see, kind of having issues in the Dragonlands with my brother, and I kind of need a week works of help. And Spike's like, Dragonlands? I can help with that. Smolder, if you need me, I'm here. And Smolder's like, yeah, fantastic. And then this also gets to Fluttershy, which she starts hearing about the dragon eggs and how they're going to be hatching, or supposedly hatching. And Fluttershy gets all these cute little adorable faces, which resemble a few other episodes ago. Fluttershy makes a lot of adorable faces, but this episode definitely referred me to a few other episodes. It wasn't Fluttershy wasn't the one who made the faces, the similar faces. I think one of them was Rainbow Dash. I'm not really sure. But there was a similar scene there, and Fluttershy freaks out. Oh my gosh, baby dragons hatching. Ah! It's fantastic. So, she wants to also be in this, and Twilight says, well, you know, I'm not really sure about you missing a week of school, but, I mean, in this sense, I mean, I guess, but Fluttershy, you have to write a report. And Fluttershy just is like, oh, whatever. Report later, dragons now. So, with this being said, they go to the Dragonlands, which, at first we see, Fluttershy and Spike just start talking and saying, hey, Fluttershy, I'm gonna catch up with you later. I'm knitting this this blanket, which I think it was, what was it called? Knitting a blanket for Smolder's brother, which very interesting who we find out who Smolder's brother is. And Fluttershy's like, okay, well, I'll do that. And you do you, and I will go over and see how the eggs are doing. So she goes out to search for the eggs, and Spike has his blanket and all that. And we see Fluttershy go to where the eggs are stored, and she's like, oh my goodness, This is amazing, and you see all these eggs, these wonderful eggs, in these little craters that's where the dragons laid them. And she is greeted with the... Oh my god. My brain's just... Oh my gosh. The Dragon Lord, thank you. Okay, that's what it is. Dragon Lord, who is Ember in this case. And this has to be the funniest thing throughout the episode, I gotta say. So Fluttershy asked Ember, Did you lay all these eggs yourself? And Ember's like, what? No. And I laughed there because poor Ember. it was funny. It was a very funny little Fluttershy moment. But anyway, Ember goes into saying that these eggs were laid a long time ago and they should be hatched by now. And Fluttershy then goes and saying, well, what's wrong? And she's like, I don't know. And Ember then asks Fluttershy, does she know anything? How? And Fluttershy says, I honestly have no idea. So you have both of them not knowing what to say or what to do, but they're going to figure out something. And then we go back to Spike knitting up his little blanket for Smolder's brother, which is introduced. We run into Garble and the other teenage dragons, which Garble is that mean red dragon that likes to bully Spike around. And he's like, oh, who do we have here? And he's like, oh, little Spike. And then he grabs the blanket and says, what is this? And then Spike's like, stop, get your claws off of it. That's my blanket. And he's like, oh, baby dragon need his little blanket. And they keep making fun of him. And he gets really upset, and they start tossing and messing with the blanket to where it ends up getting burnt and all that by one of the dragons, which I think it's Garble in this case. And Smolder comes down and says, what is going on here? And then we find out that Garble is Smolder's brother. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
I'm very surprised.
I gotta say, I felt like it was a little like, just, wow. That was really sudden right there.
Yeah, but how? I mean, those two look nothing alike.
They don't. But you know what? I'm not going to judge. There must be some certain way in that. But now, Smolder says that Garble is a really soft dragon that we hear in the beginning. Like a marshmallow. That is what Smolder refers him to. And Spike's like, really? A marshmallow? He's always mean to me. And she's like, well, maybe a marshmallow that's burnt. Burnt and hard on the outside, but in the inside he's soft and squishy, just like a marshmallow. And Spike's a little confused by that statement because he's only seen, Garble being very, very hard and very, like, ignorant towards Spike. So Spike doesn't really know, but Smolder does, because these two, we find out, are related. Again, I feel like that was so sudden. I felt like they should have emphasized that, like, in some way, shape, or form. It should have, like, not just been, oh, hey, here you go, they're related. And where did that all happen? How and why? Like, no backstory or anything? Okay, sounds good. Let's move on with our day. So, now that, Spike's in shock that, Garble is, Smolder's brother, Smolder says, alright, so I'm here to help you, in a sense. And this is where Spike says, you okay? Chris, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Why?
I heard you laughing.
Me laughing?
I'm hearing someone laughing. Who is that?
That's just my dad.
Oh. Okay. Alright. I'll be quite honest. I thought, like, Rainbow joined or something. But, yes. So, we have Spike, Garble, and Smolder walking down, and Smolder then keeps, like, going and antagonizing to, Spike, like, how soft he is, and what he is like actually when they're together and all that. And Smolder says, you guys are gonna get along. And Garble, of course, has to be like the big strong dragon saying, oh yes, we're gonna get along just fine. He's being smart and all that. And then this is where we go into his nickname, which is Gargar.
That's a baby's name.
Gargar. I like it. And this is where Garble is like, really? You're not supposed to say that in public. And Spike's like, oh, that's fine. Pony's at home call me Spiky Wikey. And
only Rarity says that.
Rarity does only say that, but you know, knowing Spike, and we know the whole thing with Rarity and Spike. And then this is where Garble says, wait, really? You admit that? Facepalm right there on the spot. And he's like, oh yes. He's like, yep, today's already started to be an interesting day. And so, they're, over here kind of telling themselves, oh hey, we both got nicknames, it's alright, it's cool, I understand, let's move on with our day. So, in the later on in the episode, we have Garble and Spike kind of rejecting friendship in certain ways and all that, and one of them being during the certain fun things that Smolder and Garble do together. One of them was like, wasn't it like lava ball or something like that? Yeah. And so he's over here messing with Spike, and he has his teenager friends, and they're kind of making Spike feel bad and all that, just because he's a pony lover and all that, and he's too soft. He isn't a dragon. They still believe that. So Garble hasn't changed or anything like that, but Spike wants to make amends with Garble and say, hey, like, yeah, it's cool and stuff, like, to be different and stuff. You don't have to act this way and all of that. Smolder is the best friend of mine, and let's make this work. But they keep on making Spike feel bad and all that. And then they go surfing, lava surfing, which they go do that, and Smolder says, hey, Spike, do you want to come? She gives him an invite, and Spike is like, I'll catch up with you guys later. So like, okay, cool, see you later. And Spike then feels really bad about himself, and Fluttershy says, oh, Spike, there you are, I was looking for you. She's like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm just, you know, hanging around trying to get to know Smolder's brother, who is Garble. And Fluttershy's like, oh dear. And she's like, well, are you alright? And he's like, sorta. How are the baby dragons doing? She's like, not so well. we don't know why they aren't hatching or anything. And she then offers Spike to come along with her to see what the problem is. And Spike says, well, it's better doing that than just sitting here trying to get a dragon who obviously won't take me for who I am. So kind of letting himself down. Now, while this is going on, Ember is trying to get the eggs to hatch, which isn't really working. She's trying to use the pony way of trying to get them to hatch, and that was pretty funny. She's like, "Oh, sleepy, sleepy, wakey, wakey. Why isn't it working?" And then this is where they're like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "I'm trying to get these eggs to hatch. Nothing's working." And he's like, "Well, what did you try seeing if everything's like cool, warm in the area?" And Spike checks the ground, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's cold." And isn't dragon eggs supposed to be in a very well heated area? And Ember kind of like feels the ground too, and she's like, "You're right, Spike. It's not warm. We need to go figure out what's going on here." And Spike's like, I think I have an idea. And his idea is he thinks that Garble and his friends are messing with the lava, which keeps the eggs heated. That's why they're shaking and all that, because they're cold. They're not scared or anything. They're cold. Which obviously he was spot on. Ember goes over there and starts yelling at the teenage dragon, saying, "Hey, we're trying to get eggs here to hatch, and you guys making a mess out of things isn't helping. You know, without heat, these eggs are never gonna hatch, so you better fix that right now." And they're like, "Yes, Dragon Lord, we will." So they go over, try to fix it in their way. You have some of them splashing the little lava to get up there, like if it's water. It's pretty funny. This is where things are trying to get back and all that. And then we have Garble and Spike now. Garble throws lava balls at Spike, which this isn't good, and Fluttershy starts catching on to this. And this is where we find out, well, she finds out that Spike's kind of been bullied a little bit with him and the other dragons, and starts getting really, really upset with the other dragons, saying, "Spike is really hard in the inside. If you think he's weak and stuff, you are so totally wrong, and what's wrong with him loving ponies and all that, and there's nothing wrong with being a pony." And then she goes in the saying, "Just you wait, Garble, you're dealing with Fluttershy now," and she's packing a whole lifetime of kindness, which I kind of liked. That was pretty cool. So now that this is all going on, I still hear you laughing. Are you sure that's not you?
No.
It sounds like you. I don't know. It's like really close to the mic. It makes me want to laugh too. But anyway, sorry guys if I'm getting off track and all that. So now we have Garble and his friends trying to get the eggs to get warm and all that so they'll hatch. That's kind of going well, not too well. And then Fluttershy stumbles across Smolder and Garble, and Garble has these bongos, and Fluttershy's listening to these bongos. And we find out that Garble is a poet. He writes poetry while playing the bongos. Okay, interesting talent.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, Garble is very embarrassed about his little talent, and that's why he's really missed Smolder being in his life, because Smolder is the one who helps him with the poetry, and when she's not there and gone to the school of friendship, it makes things tougher for him. And so Fluttershy then goes and saying, there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine that you have a talent, and you shouldn't be afraid to show that off to the world. Is that why you make fun of Spike for him to love ponies and all that? And starts kind of wrapping up, and Fluttershy is just basically, she's taking no crap from him or anything like that. She's just bam, bam, bam. And of course, that's what all leads up into it. And she's like, well, you need to express your talent and show the other dragons, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And if you like it or not, it's me. There's nothing wrong with that. Garble kind of starts to understand, but he still believes that he's all this toughness and all that, and he can deal away with it. He'll be able to just take it on and keep it hidden. Well, back where the eggs are and all that, and sorry if you are hearing that in the background, someone's FaceTiming me. I'll get back to them later. Fluttershy, Garble, and Smolder are called by Spike saying, okay, you guys need to come here quickly. And they rush to the dragon eggs, and we have all the dragons surrounding these eggs, trying to light the eggs on fire to keep them warm in some way, shape, or form, which isn't really working, but it's semi-working. And this is where they kind of basically run out of ideas until Garble has an idea, which, with no hesitation or anything, goes out, get his bongos, his little cute little hat there, and starts playing them in the poetry and all that. And all the other dragons hear it, which ends up making them laugh so hard, which makes them cast out this really powerful fire that they produce, which is enough heat to heat up these eggs for them to hatch. And Spike mentions something about that, like that fire is way too dangerous, and Garble says that that's a fantastic idea, let's use it. You may think it's stupid, but it will actually work. And so he's over here playing the bongos, like making poetry happen, being a poet, all that, and that ends up working. It ends up making the dragons laugh, which produces that fire, makes the eggs start cracking, and then they finally hatch, and there are baby dragons. How about that? Fluttershy, you got your dream of seeing baby dragons hatch. The dragons are all happy and all that, and Fluttershy is extremely happy. She's over here cuddling the dragons, which I found to be really cute. This is where we have a statement throughout the whole Dragonlands that everyone should be taught and to have some way, shape, or form a talent, and no one should be made fun of for that talent, because that's not what we do here. We are here to bring others together, whatever talent they may have or anything like that, and this is a statement that goes throughout the Dragonlands. So every dragon knows about it, they agree about it, and then they all think that, Garble is a really special dragon with a really special ability of being a poet and bongos. And this impresses Ember so much that Ember actually wants him to teach her his ways of poetry. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll be willing to do that. And so everyone gets along. There's a very happy ending. And then we leave off with Fluttershy cuddling the dragons and all that, which was pretty nice. But yeah. So that's basically the episode right there. That's episode 9, Smoky and Sweet. I really like this episode. Give it 2 flaming thumbs up. 2 flaming claws up. How about that? So yeah, I definitely think that the writer has definitely improved in their work. This episode was a lot more enjoyable than a non-compete clause. So yeah, absolutely. I don't think it was the best episode, but I definitely thought it was a really good episode. What about you, Chris?
I just personally enjoy it. It was pretty good. It definitely has some enjoyable moments.
Yeah, it definitely was nice to see. Again, I really thought they could have done the episode with just Ember, Smolder, Spike, and oh my gosh, I can never think of his name. Garble. Okay. I think they could have just done it with them instead of Fluttershy, but at the same time, they managed to squeeze her in, and it just kind of fit it all together. So I do got to give the creator kudos. Kim Bayer-Johnson, you have redeemed yourself from that one horrid episode. So good job. I definitely can. I am starting to see, guys. There's definitely a lot of potential for this season. We still have a lot more episodes to cover. And if you guys want to be a part of that, all you need to do is leave a comment down below saying you want to join the podcast, and we will get you all set up. So, yes. Don't have anything else to say, but great episode. It was very tasteful, and I want to see more episodes like these, guys. No more no more Garbo episodes. This is the final season, and the final season deserves to be sent off in a way of remembrance, as all good episodes and cartoons should be sent off. But with that being said, this is the end of the podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe, guys. And if you haven't already, make sure you click that notifications bell to keep updated with the podcast. So we have a lot of episodes coming your way. We will have a few special podcasts, and also just random videos that we have here on the channel. It's up for you and you guys to decide. But I did want to say thank you so much, Chris, for joining us in this podcast.
No problem.
Alright. Yeah, so that's basically all I have to say, and the next episode will be episode 10, and the title is titled, well, Going to Seed. Alright, so we'll see what that is all about in the next podcast. I'm so glad we're all caught up, guys. So, yes, we'll try to keep it that way as well. So thank you all so much for watching this Pony Talk podcast, and we'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace out, everypony. And also, happy Memorial Day, because this podcast is going to be released Memorial Day. So have a safe Memorial Day to all of you guys. Peace out. Bye, everypony!